Catholic. I started thinking about that. No, I can quote Bible verses, which is good, and you should do that, but that's all I can really do. But the other person can quote some right back, and they can just say, well, my interpretation is different from yours, and that's all there really is to it. One of the things I remember very clearly in my mind during our time in Vancouver was Chelsea and I at a stoplight. She's, 4 months pregnant or so. And out of nowhere, she says, so when our kid is born, are we going to get him or her baptized? And I thought, oh my goodness, well, no, I don't think we're going to. Because at this time, I'd already accepted this position coming back to work at this church. And this church is an Anabaptist church, and they don't baptize infants. And I have to be honest and say that I was thinking of it very practically. I wasn't thinking in terms of right and wrong, and what the Lord wants or doesn't want. I was thinking of, well, I'm working at a church that doesn't do that. So no, we're not doing that. And then God bless my wife, because her pushback to that was, well, I don't care if you're working in a church that does that. Like, what are you supposed to do? I remember kind of thinking, well, goodness, like, I don't know, like, I think this is what he wants. And because I'd done so much kind of theological training at this point, it was pretty easy for me to say, well, here's the reasons why some people will baptize their babies. Here's the reason why some people won't. But, there's good reasons on both sides. But at the end of the day, we're not going to do it because I'm working at this church. And it struck her as just being so cowardly of me, of like, really, that's the answer you're going to give me, is just because we're, there's good reasons here, and we're just not going to do it because of this church that you're planning on working at? Like, what if we're wrong? What if we should be doing this? What if we're withholding this huge, amazing gift and blessing from our kid? That was the first time where I started thinking of, like, this matters, and this is going to matter. As we have more kids, as our kids grow up, this kind of stuff is going to come up again and again and again. Because up until then, it had been just me, and then later on me and her, and we could just kind of pick and choose how we wanted to approach things in the faith, however we wanted, and there was, like I said, there was nothing really at stake. So during my time when I was working at this church, that theme kept on coming up for me of, well, what does the Lord want in terms of, the sacrament of baptism, for example? What does the Lord want for that? Does he want to be baptizing babies? Does he not? Why? Why not? About how to understand marriage, how to understand family, how to understand the sanctity of life, when issues come up about assisted suicide, when issues come up about abortion, when issues come up about homosexual relationships, these things that you see all the time in the culture around us. I was just realizing that I don't have the tools to approach these things the way that I need to. I can quote Bible verses, which is good, and you should do that, but that's all I can really do. But the other person can quote some right back, and they can just say, well, my interpretation is different from yours, and that's all there really is to it. And just thinking about this crazy world that I'm going to be raising my children, I started thinking, this isn't working. Like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to hold. When it comes to really important issues like that, where does the buck stop? And that's when I started thinking a lot more about, boy, it'd sure be nice to be Catholic. I started thinking about that. Not that it would solve all my problems, not that it would be easy, but just the general way that the authority of the church functions or ought to function. It was attractive to me. The idea that it isn't just about my private interpretation of Scripture. The church has a teaching office, the church has a tradition, and it's handed down, and it's infallible in the things that it proclaims are infallible, and all of that was really attractive to me on the outset. I didn't want to become Catholic at all. Just that one little part about it seemed kind of interesting or attractive, because it seemed like it could kind of solve my problems. But I didn't want to become Catholic because I didn't think it was true. And then I started wrestling with it a little bit more. I started asking some of my Catholic friends, and I just started realizing, okay, like, they have some pretty good explanations for a lot of the things that they believe. They have understanding of things that I didn't expect that they would have an understanding of. Still couldn't foresee it actually working, because I wanted to be a pastor. This would be a way too huge of a change for our lives to make. But as time went on, we just realized, okay, the bottom line in all of this is just what does God want? That ultimate question of what does Jesus want? The more we press into that question specifically, the more it kept on coming up. If we think that we have to become Catholic, we think that this is what we have to do. And I knew that Jesus promised that he would give his Spirit to lead his people into all truth. And I thought, okay, well, if he said he's going to lead us into all truth, that means that it can't just be, okay, well, we got the general Christian thing right, but on all the details, you can kind of make it up as you go. That means he's going to lead us into all truth. And the more I thought about that idea of just where is all truth? Where's the fullness of truth? The only church that was claiming to even have that was the Catholic Church. To any other church that sounded arrogant or cult-like or just ridiculous, like who would say that? Like, sure, we generally get the important things right, but on other things we hold it with an open hand. We could be wrong. But then here's the Catholic Church making this claim of, no, by God's grace and by the will of Christ, we have the fullness of truth, and this is it right here. It sounded so arrogant to begin with, and then I thought, yeah, but if it's true, it's not arrogant. If it's true, it's amazing and it's beautiful, and I want to be part of it. Yeah, it was very unexpected. It was very scary. We knew that there was a lot of conversations we were going to have with a lot of people, and then within a couple years from then, we were received into the Catholic Church, and our daughter was baptized. Yeah, we've often said it was probably one of the happiest days of our life. Like, when we look back on it, it really did feel like coming home.